Now, this guy right here went pretty viral a while back when people on the internet started speculating that this Secret Service agent might have been holding a prosthetic hand. Now, I can see why people thought that, especially since in some photos his hand looked pretty stiff with all his fingers extended, which does look a bit unnatural. However, later we can see his fingers close together, which suggests it might not be a prosthetic hand after all. But who really knows, right? Since the Secret Service has never publicly acknowledged the use of prosthetic or fake hands as part of their tactics while guarding the president. That said, multiple videos online have speculated that some Secret Service agents might be using fake hands to disguise the fact that their real hand is holding onto a firearm underneath their coat. And again, while there's no hard solid evidence to back up this theory, I don't think it's entirely far-fetched, especially considering that there's actual video footage during Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt showing Secret Service agents carrying compact machine guns like the Uzi while escorting the president. So while the fake hand theory remains unproven, we do know for a fact Secret Service agents are often armed with small and easily concealable firearms to avoid drawing attention. Now, some people have speculated that at one point the Secret Service replaced the Uzi with the MP5, a more modern and compact submachine gun, which years later that too was reportedly replaced in favor of the P90, another well-known machine gun commonly known for its high-capacity magazine and compact bolt design. So for today's video, I thought it'd be a fun experiment to entertain the idea and show what it possibly look like to be a Secret Service agent using a prosthetic hand in order to conceal a compact firearm underneath the coat. Now, of course, since I live here in California and we're not allowed to have fun, unfortunately there will be no submachine guns used in today's video. But what we do have, and probably the next best thing, is my AR pistol. Now, for those curious on how I got an AR pistol in the state of California, I made a whole video going over it, so if you guys are interested in that, make sure to check that video out. Now, I'm not going to go entirely into the pistol since I'm going to save that for a future video, but the whole idea here is I'm supposed to be a Secret Service agent with a prosthetic hand to disguise the fact that I'm actually holding onto a firearm underneath my coat to protect the president. So when it came to building the setup, I started with a fake prosthetic hand. I basically just ordered a cheap hand meant for jewelry display. Now, obviously, since I'm a little darker, I decided to throw on some black leather gloves to help with concealment and give it a more conceiving look. Next, I had to figure out how to attach the hand to the coat in a way that didn't look too obvious. For that, I used a Velcro strap and secured it to the inside of the coat. Now, the last part was the arm itself. Since there was nothing actually filling out the sleeve except for the fake hand, it looked pretty flat and obviously fake. So to give it some structure, I stuffed it with a few t-shirts inside the sleeve to create this illusion of an arm, and boom, close enough. Now, I understand this doesn't look the most realistic, and at some points you can clearly tell there's no arm or hand in that sleeve, but hey, I don't have that Secret Service kind of budget here. Next up is the drill itself. Now, because Trump couldn't make it out here, I had to settle for a cardboard lookalike, which I clipped onto my target stance. Now, the idea here is that we're walking down a roadway when a few potential threats, aka these other cardboard targets, start getting a little too close, and once my shot timer goes off, those threats fully present themselves, and my job at that moment is to eliminate those threats, secure the area, and return to protect the president. Now, there's two different techniques used during this drill. The first one starts with both hands down on my sides, and as I get closer to the threat, I raise my left hand to signal to them to stop and back away. The second technique is one that's often seen the Secret Service doing, is having both hands together in front of their waist. Okay, so now that you understand the layout and the techniques that will be used, let's first start off with the first drill with both hands down and one threat. Now, this was my first time doing a drill like this, and honestly, it felt badass. But that said, I totally forgot about the objective, probably because I'm so used to running CCW drills where I only have to focus on protecting myself that I totally forgot about protecting the president. So the next drill, everything is the same except for the technique. Here we have both hands together up front. Now, looking back at the footage, I think this technique came across as the most realistic. I did notice when I had both hands at my sides, the prosthetic hand hung slightly lower than my real hand, completely giving it away. However, when I had both hands together, my right arm looked way too stiff, but hey, we're working with what we got. But still, I felt like this technique captured the most real-world tension you would expect from this kind of situation. Now from here, I decided to wrap things up a bit by adding a second threat. Now, introducing a second threat did make it a bit more challenging since I've never actually done this before, not even in my standard CCW training. So I had to figure out when to transition from the first target to the second. And in my head, I figured maybe 3 to 4 shots on the first threat would be realistic enough to neutralize them or at least put them down as I immediately move on to the next. Now, while we didn't see any Secret Service agents pull out P90s during Trump's first assassination attempt, we did, however, see a lot of handguns carried outside the waistband, concealed underneath their suits. So I thought it'd be interesting to test that out, so I ran the same drill, but this time using a handgun instead of my AR pistol. Now, to keep the draw speed consistent, I started in a ready to draw stance with my hand already on the grip. That way, the moment the shot timer went off, I was ready to draw immediately and engage. And once again, the drill ran perfectly. I was able to draw my firearm and land quick yet accurate shots on the first target before transitioning to the second. Now, after done all that testing, do I personally believe that all Secret Service agents are walking around with a fake hand while their real hands are holding on to submachine guns underneath their coats? Probably not. And the reason why is because we can clearly see that not all Secret Service agents are wearing these long coats all the time, and I just can't imagine them hiding some machine guns underneath those small little vests. Now, do I believe the Secret Service has ever used this technique while escorting the president? Most likely. And if they haven't, they're really missing out. I mean, when else can you walk around in public with your hand on your weapon, ready to draw at a moment's notice without anyone suspecting a thing? And from my limited training and budget, I can absolutely see this method being perfected with the right tools and techniques to the point that you probably wouldn't even notice it's a prosthetic hand or realize that someone is concealing a submachine gun at their side. So that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you're interested in seeing some CCW drills, make sure to check out my Instagram at ShadowTheWicked. Also, if you want to get in contact with me, that's a great place. But other than that, hope you guys have a good weekend. Stay safe and God bless.